Hello there. Today, we'll be counterintuitively taking a look at 5 SCPs you're better off not knowing about. So I guess, watch this video at your own risk. SCP-231 is heavily redacted, but with good reason. So we'll just have to go off of the limited information available to us for the time being. SCP-231 currently consists of one presumably human and presumably pregnant female. That's all we've got. However, at first, SCP-231 consisted of 7 such women, who were retrieved during a police raid on a warehouse owned by an organization called the Children of the Scarlet King. Now, if you're not familiar with the Scarlet King, it's bad. It's real bad. SCP-231's anomalous effect is that when one of these 7 women gives or gave birth, the result was, again, really bad. Take SCP-231-1, for example, who gave birth to an SCP that caused a death toll in the triple digits. And supposedly, each time a new birth occurred, the disaster caused was worse than the last. Now, as for the women themselves, all but 1 have died, either as a result of giving birth, or as a result of containment procedures, such as attempted abortions, if you could call them that, or simply as a byproduct of the infamous procedure 110 Montauk, which has proven essential to containment, if incredibly controversial. So let's get into it. While we don't have any actual details of what procedure 110 Montauk entails, the following letter from an O5 council member justifying it should give you some idea of the level of brutality involved.
Dear friends, it has come to my attention that recently certain rumors have surfaced regarding SCP-231. Due to the drop in staff morale, I have decided to address some of the more prevalent points. Yes, Procedure 110 Montauk is as horrible as you have heard, which is why only Class D personnel are authorized to carry it out. Yes, it does involve brutal... No assignment to SCP-231 is not intended to test your loyalty to the Foundation, your tendencies towards... or anything else. No, SCP-231 is not a punishment detail. Yes, there are staff members who have been on SCP-231 and have successfully transferred out by their own request. No, not everyone who's worked on SCP-231 is terminated upon leaving the project. Yes, staff members who have been assigned to 231 are allowed to take a Class A amnestic before leaving the project if so desired. Yes, false memories are then implanted. No, none of these supposed methods for recovering or detecting false memories work. Yes, there are some of you who've worked on SCP-231 and don't remember it. No, we have not given up trying to save SCP-231-7, but research in that field must be carried out with the utmost of caution. Based on the increased potency of each subsequent event associated with each subsequent SCP specimen, there was a strong possibility that SCP-231-7's event could result in an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. This information is corroborated in notebooks recovered from the cultists. See document 7 Brides, 7 Seals, SCP-231 Adjunct B. No, putting the poor girl out of her misery is not an option. Neither is drugging her. She has to be aware of what is going on for 110 Montauk to work. One final note. The Foundation does many distasteful things in the completion of our mission, but our mission is important enough that the price is one we must pay. Containment of SCP-231 is one of our most dangerous duties, not because of any direct danger to ourselves, like SCP-682, but because of the danger that our resolve will fail, that we will allow ourselves to either let down our guard due to sympathy for the suffering of an innocent, or that we will allow ourselves to become monsters through the performance of monstrous acts. Just do your jobs, and save the philosophizing for the shrink. Sincerely, O5.
Yeah, so it's pretty bad. And in case that wasn't enough, Foundation staff later found that occasionally wiping 231-7's memory was an effective way to maximize her continued suffering, in order to ensure she couldn't become desensitized. Yeah, grim. And just in case you're not familiar with this kind of containment procedure, this is something we covered in our video on SCP-2845, the Deer God. In brief, when it comes to godlike entities such as these, normal actions don't really do anything. It's all about meaning and perception. If you're doing something that makes people go, "Whoa, what the f***? That's f***ed up," then that emotional response gives whatever you're doing power. So the more f***ed up whatever you're doing is, the more powerful it is. And well, the Scarlet King is powerful. In fact, those with a keen eye might find that even the very Foundation database has succumbed to his influence, with prophecies of his progeny being hidden in the very source code of the SCP-231 documentation. It reads as follows.
They gather round the natal bed, the foolish and the wise. They fear the child yet to be born, whose voice shall rend the skies. The faithful watch the forest for the coming of the king. Their lanterns bright, they wait at night for the new world he shall bring. The dragon waits in shadows, his breath will scorch the land. The hero in the castle draws his sword and makes his stand. The princess in the tower is hidden far away, but nothing under heaven can keep the groom at bay.
Now, it actually goes on for much longer, but for the sake of brevity, we've relegated it to its own video. If you'd like to see it, check the description. Frankly, there are a lot of reasons you're better off not knowing about this SCP. Hell, if the Foundation wasn't so stingy with their amnestics, I might have just popped one myself right there. But, you know what we like to say here, truth over ignorance or whatnot. Anyways, SCP-2317 is a wooden door. Okay, it's a lot more than that, sure. The door itself leads to an alternate reality. Now, exploration of this alternate reality has been limited, but the area directly accessible through SCP-2317 is a salt pan several kilometers in radius, as well as a circle of 7 pillars which extend deep into the earth, designated SCP-2317-A through 2317-G. Beneath this circle, deep underground, is a spherical space 100 kilometers in diameter lined with stone, which contains an entity. This entity appears to be an obese human-like creature of immense proportions, potentially up to 200 kilometers tall, with enormous horns and millions of overlapping scales. Embedded into its back are 7 heavy hooks, each attached to a chain connected to one of the 7 pillars. Or at least they were. At the time this article was written, 6 of the pillars or chains had been broken or damaged, rendering all but one of the constraints ineffective. The entity was first discovered with 3 of the 7 intact, but the 5th and 6th chains subsequently broke, coinciding with increasingly severe catastrophic events resulting in the deaths of millions. That's right, 7 bindings, 6 broken, all coinciding with worsening anomalous events. If you remember SCP-231, you might already have some idea of what this entity is. And if you know just how important it is for this entity to not escape containment, then, well, I have some bad news for you. Following the discovery of SCP-231 and some extensive research, the Foundation came up with a containment procedure in the form of Procedure 220 Calabasas, a lengthy ritual to be performed at solar noon each day and involving various ritualistic acts, such as scattering holy water on each pillar, sacrificing a chicken, reciting specific phrases, and of course keeping a good old kiloton-level nuclear device on hand in case things go wrong. With the important stipulation that failure to properly perform this procedure may result in an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. Here's the bad news. It's all fake. Using high-level clearance, we can see that the actual primary threat perceived from SCP-2317 is despair and panic, and Procedure 220 Calabasas was authored and implemented as a ruse, incorporating things such as common ritualistic magics, religious rites, references to occult entities, and even appealing to the common institutional meme of the effectiveness of thermonuclear weapons in destroying paranormal entities. Okay, that last one's kind of funny. But all of this simply is to give the appearance of active containment in order to keep Foundation staff calm while the search for a more permanent solution is found. In other words, we're boned. Even the O5s know we have no hope of containing this thing. And if you're wondering, why not make more chains? Well, they can't. The projected containment profile indicates that containment failure is inevitable and may occur as soon as the next 30 years, and efforts to repair or replace the chains have all failed, as the originals were crafted from the bones and sinew of a devourer entity, which the Foundation frankly has no hope of finding, let alone killing and harvesting. So, enjoy the next 30 years, I guess. You know, I never really trusted the Foundation to contain much of anything in the first place, but the fact that even they have to admit, look, we're just pretending, we got nothing, is a little terrifying. SCP-2521 is, well, hard to define. In fact, the Foundation's entry on it doesn't contain a single word. Heck, even finding this article can be a headache, as the act of referring to this anomaly by any name can be enough to trigger it. As such, it's often referred to as, well, this, and I don't know how to pronounce that. But hey, physically, it manifests as a tall, stringy, sticky black creature. This creature's main anomalous property is its ability to manifest and demanifest at will, taking with it any objects or individuals it desires. What makes it so hard to define is that, well, it's a narcissist. It absolutely loves information about itself. It is worth noting, however, that it seems to only focus on words, either written, typed, or spoken. Visuals, such as images, charts, or graphs, don't appear to trigger it. Maybe this will help clarify things. See, in this test log, a D-class subject was instructed to read about SCP-2521, then write about it on paper in words. 2521 then showed up, took the paper, and left. In another test, a D-class subject was told to read about SCP-2521, then speak about it. 2521 then showed up, took the D-class subject, and left. And that's pretty much it. Just the way I like my anomalies. Concise, but with lots of depth. Now, thankfully, I'm a little out of this guy's reach at the moment, hence my continued existence, but maybe you should be careful who you tell about this one. You never know who's listening. SCP-2719 is a headache. Okay, sorry. SCP-2719 is a variable abstract metaphysical construct pointer. There, have fun drawing that. Oh, you did. Alright. Anyways, this anomaly is a metaphysical pointer which can assign concepts or things as either being inside or going inside. I know, it makes no sense, but I'll try to break it down. I swear, it took me like an hour to figure this thing out. But here goes. Okay, so let's look at the first experiment logs. On the left is the item affected, and on the right is its state. When SCP-2719 was discovered, a 2008 Opel Astra, a car, was inside. Then, 2 D-class subjects went inside, meaning they were now inside the car. But note that this doesn't mean the subjects physically walked over and entered the physical car. Instead, a third party, likely a high-level researcher, used this anomaly to metaphysically assign those subjects as inside the car, which resulted in them becoming inside it physically. Another D-class subject then became inside, meaning the car and the other subjects were no longer affected by the anomaly, and this subject now acts as the inside, or the container. Another subject then went inside the previous subject, causing distress in the original subject, understandably so. Then a containment unit was sent inside, causing inside the subject to die. Because, well, you would too if you had a whole person and a containment unit placed inside of you. Get it now? No? Yeah, me neither. Apparently it's like an analogy for a computer science principle which acts similar to a variable. Like a line of code that says assign value x to variable y, like if you store the number 62 inside of the word amount, or vice versa. Sort of. Let's look at some more examples. Now here's an actual good use of this anomaly. The Foundation assigns a city in Finland as inside, then sends the population of that city inside, meaning things outside cannot affect them or the city. Supposedly, this successfully saved the people of that city from some disaster. In this example, a Dr. Zermello uses SCP-2719 to assign the concept of O5 as inside, and then goes inside, meaning Dr. Zermello is now a part of the O5 Council. As we can see lower down, he becomes O5-7. However, someone then assigns punishment as inside, and then sends the new O5-7 inside, meaning someone basically put the ambitious Dr. Zermello, now O5-7, inside of the very concept of punishment, which can't have been pleasant. Okay, one last one. Here, the very concept of transcendence was assigned as inside, and then O5-4 went inside. Then when others tried to reassign transcendence, presumably in an effort to transcend, as O5-4 seemingly did, the anomaly returned outside, meaning it could no longer access or assign the concept of transcendence. In other words, I think O5-4 is God now? Anyways, while this one was a fun brain teaser, it's also kinda dangerous. The ability to use this anomaly is only locked behind the ability to properly understand it, hence the warning not to provide further information about it to any personnel who are both sapient and biological. Thankfully, we're all too stupid to properly wrap our heads around it, But all it would take is one big-brained sadist to unlock its full potential and then decide inside is hell, and all of us are inside. Yeah. SCP-3007, or at least 3007-1, is a reoccurring hallucinogenic phenomenon that appears to randomly affect individuals across the planet on a seemingly random basis. What's particularly anomalous about these hallucinations is the fact that they all appear to be more or less the same, temporarily transporting the victim to a location known as SCP-3007-3. And when I say transport, I don't mean physically. During the experience, individuals are still capable of physical movement in the real world, but can only perceive actual reality through hearing and touch. Their sensations of sight, smell, and taste are transported to this other world. And they're even able to walk around in some telepathic fashion. Now, despite their sense of touch remaining in the real world, trauma and injury sustained in the hallucination will also manifest on the subject's real body. In other words, if you die in the dream, you die in real life. And this has resulted in a number of deaths due to individuals suffering these hallucinations, falling from great heights in the dream. Another interesting detail is the fact that sound from SCP-3007-3 can actually be perceived in the real world within a 2-meter radius of those hallucinating, indicating that wherever they are may actually be a real place somehow overlapping with our world. Thankfully for the Foundation, this also meant they were able to confirm the existence of the anomaly and retrieve individuals affected by SCP-3007 in order to gather more information. Several interviews have taken place with individuals who were actively present in SCP-3007-3 during a hallucination, resulting in precise details about the other world. Here are some excerpts from their first interview with such a subject.
It will sound utterly unbelievable, but please believe me. After the vision started, I appeared on a narrow suspension bridge of sorts. It was day, but the sunlight seemed weak, as if it was obscured by smoke. There was a horrible stench in the air, reminds me of garbage and rotting meat. I'll keep going. I could see quite far because of the height, and all around me there was the ruins of a city. Well, I'm not sure. The buildings were different from anything like I'd ever seen before, more like giant trees than skyscrapers. They were so tall that I had to crane my neck to see the needle-thin top. Some stood straight, but most have fallen or have been reduced to rubble. When the dizziness finally stopped, I went to the side of the bridge and looked down. The ground was out of sight, like the city continued forever in the darkness. I had to step away before I threw up or lost my footing. Thousands of bridges, like the one that I stood on, seemed to be the only links between the buildings. However, many of them were broken as well. All the structures were made from a smooth metallic material, but rather than being shiny, it was white as bone. I didn't see a single animal or person moving around. There were no plants either. You'd think that abandoned buildings would be overrun with them, but the whole place was dead and barren. There was a tall black pillar in the distance. It was thicker and stood out from all the other buildings, so I grew curious and started walking towards it. I could have gotten there, but things appeared in my path, lying on the ground. There were... do I have to continue? I don't want to remember it. Please, can we just stop? I'm sorry, it's just startled me, that's all. The corpses. They were scattered everywhere. They seemed dried up and mummified, so they must have died a long time ago. I thought they belonged to different animals at first, but I dared to look closer. They might have been people, but their bodies were wrong, twisted. There was a man, I think, whose bones bulged in parts and erupted out of his skin like extra limbs. He had his arms raised, probably clawing at those things when he died. A child was next to him. It must have been a child. Its head was melted like wax, but it was the same height as my grandson. Oh god, some of them were joined together, pressed into cubes. God, please, no.
A second exploration log revealed some more acute details about this place and the black pillar that appeared to be a common appearance in all SCP-3007 events. Thanks to this intrepid volunteer's bravery and good memory, I believe we have just enough information to decipher what exactly caused SCP-3007-3 to become the ruined wasteland that it is.
Can you see the pillar structure?
Yes, it's not far. I think I can get there in under an hour if there are no problems. Alright, I'm looking up at the pillar now. It's much larger than I thought. It's a cylinder, around 40 meters thick, maybe more.
Are there any unusual features?
I can see it's got some colorful patches on it, probably decoration. There are some stairs wrapped around it leading to the top, and the smells... Oh,
God. Doctor? Those bodies, they're pressed together like they're climbing over each other to get to this pillar. And some of them, the ones that have heads, they're all facing up like they're staring straight at me. Or whatever's on top of this thing. Fuck, it's freaky. I'm gonna get going now. Doctor, this place makes me uneasy.
Considering what you have seen, that is understandable.
No, Doctor, you don't understand. It's not just the corpses and buildings. This place isn't normal. What happened here wasn't normal. I first thought there was some kind of natural disaster, like an earthquake or meteor shower. I thought that was how this city got destroyed, but now that I'm up high, the whole place looks wrong.
The subject then goes on to describe a series of paintings scrawled upon the pillar, as he climbs a staircase encircling it. He stops when he gets to the very top.
Oh my God, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
What do you see?
I don't fucking know. It's dried like all the other ones I've seen, but it's huge. It's got a face 10 times bigger than mine, and the body, God, so many arms, and it's missing chunks, and it's ah!
Mister, please don't panic. It's dead, isn't it? It doesn't pose any danger towards you.
No, Doctor, it's not just the corpse. It's the painting that it's lying on, the final one. I don't think it's finished, but I can tell. God, why is that there? It's a fucking...
Are you sure?
Of course I am. Anyone would recognize...
And with that, the hallucination event came to a close. Afterwards, the subject was able to assist the Foundation in recreating the paintings from the pillar from memory. Now, here is my interpretation, based on my personal worldview and research, but I encourage you to come up with your own conclusions. The first painting depicts a goddess, acting as a guiding hand in the evolution of a people similar to humans. At first naive, then appearing to possess modern technology such as cameras and even eventually developing aircraft. The second painting is darker, seemingly depicting those same aircraft landing on another world only for their passengers to encounter a dark power that infects their minds. Third painting shows us how quickly things devolved, with the red entity infecting more and more minds and twisting the goddess's creations into formless monstrosities. During this, the goddess simply does her best, helping whoever she can. Eventually, the goddess knows she is no match for the red entity. She uses her power to send her people to another world where the red cannot find them. She stays behind, hoping to buy them time. With the last of her power, the goddess erects the black pillar, painting her story upon it as a warning to any would-be visitors about the red entity and how to escape it. The red entity, however, isn't done, and stretches his influence into other worlds, giving their inhabitants the ability to unknowingly visit his new domain, causing them to fall victim to his cognito-hazardous nature. And now, the seeds of his influence have been planted upon our Earth, with each visitor to the red entity's domain bringing him closer. Feel free to let me know if you have a different interpretation. Now, there are many reasons you'd be better off not knowing about this one. For one, it's sad. A whole world, once cherished by a benevolent goddess, reduced to a sadistic playground for a devil with power beyond measure. The constant threat of randomly being yoinked into this playground and falling to your death is also something I'd rather not have to worry about. And worst of all, it's an info hazard. For all we know, even just knowledge of this entity could make its grip on our reality stronger, allowing it to come creeping in ever so slightly faster. Well, that's enough of that. Hopefully you don't regret watching this video too much. But hey, if you do, that's what amnestics are for, baby. But, of course, as always, remember to ask yourself, is ignorance safer than truth?